Yeah. Yeah, there's actually, I went to this conference in Colorado, the Breakthrough Energy Movement Conference, and one of the things that has come up in discussion was that this next level of technology, which is the free energy technology, which really just means taking energy out of this infinite well of energy, right, rather than trying to like smash it out. We just, we just groove with it. We just dance with it and we bring it out.
Yeah.
This next level, I'll just pull it out real quick. So I'll put it on. This will be a nice little thing for Daniel and Erica Nunez, who made this coil.
Ah.
This is the next level.
A Rodin coil?
This is based on Marco Rodin's Rodin coil, but this is the next level. This is called the Abha coil, which was first proposed by Randy Powell, and Daniel and Erica Nunez at One Stop Energies are making them. They're experimental devices now, but I know that Daniel has done some experiments that suggest that you can actually get more energy out of this coil than you put in, which is what we call over unity, which is getting something for nothing, which is not allowed in our current physics. That violates what's called the second law of thermodynamics.
But if you just think about it, if you just think about where we were just 100 years ago, we were using horses, we were using candlelight, we were using, lamps. Now, not only do we have electricity, but we have nuclear energy, we have so many things. The idea that there is not an infinite amount of energy that we can tap into seems absurd to me. The question is, how do we tap into it, and how long does it take to integrate that into our language so that it becomes a real possibility?
Right.
I mean, certainly for people in this world, it is a real possibility, but maybe you have to get, enough people to believe.
Yeah, it's kind of it feels like sort of like a fairyland, like Never Never Land thing. Like, you must believe. Yeah, you must believe. If you don't believe, and it actually, I don't want to say it's a problem, but it's the reason why we haven't seen these technologies come through to some degree is that the scientific establishment will not even consider that this is possible.
That is that's a whole nother issue, but it's the issue of entrenchment. It's the issue of vested interests. And I always go back to the example of the keyboard. Why do we have the keys arranged the way we have on the keyboard? I'm sure you know the answer to that.
Well, I don't know the inventor, but...
Well, it was because we had typewriters, manual typewriters that had little hammers that came out with the key, and it struck the paper, and if you had them arranged the way that we have them, then most of the words wouldn't get stuck. So then the question is, okay...
Actually, they had to make it as difficult as possible. And I thought you were talking about the musical keyboard.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I was talking about the typing keyboard. Good question. So, okay, now we don't use manual typewriters anymore.
Right.
I mean, we went to IBM Selectrics, then we had computers, so we don't need to have that arrangement of the alphabet anymore. And it would probably be a lot easier to learn if we had it some other way, maybe put the vowels together, whatever. But there's a lot of vested interest in keeping things the way they are.
Yeah.
And that's why science doesn't like change.
Yeah. Because
you've got books that are written, you've got people's careers that are based on that.
Bingo. Paychecks are being written.
Lots of money hangs in the balance.
And egos.
And egos, exactly.
And egos. I know what I know. Now we know this.
Yeah, we used to believe that, but now we know.
Yeah. And that is that's actually have you seen Rupert Sheldrake's TED Talk on this? Yeah, The Science of Delusion.
Right.
That's very informative because really that's what it comes down to. It's this rigidity of that. This is what we know, and our science is predicated. I mean, first of all, good science is predicated on that you're only making a hypothesis to confirm or deny a theory, and then a theory is always a theory. It doesn't. It's still the theory of evolution, but we just call it evolution.
Right. We dropped the theory part.
Yeah, we dropped the theory because it goes from science fiction to science fact. I don't know. There's this that there are these facts that we have to hold on to.
Well, it's true. Things get made concrete, and then you can't rethink them. Yeah. And a perfect example of that is, how many people think that gravity is the law, not a
theory.
Not a theory.
Exactly.
But there are people now who are questioning gravity.
Yeah.
That's,
Yeah. I'm one of those people. The more that I go down that, it's like, in a way. I mean, it feels really ungrounded, and I think this is why as humans we don't want to be in that ungrounded place. We don't want to feel like the carpet is being constantly pulled out from under us. I mean,
no.
We feel like we need security.
Right.
We need to know this is the way it is, and this is the way But that just it's kind of a cliche. I forget where it came. It might even come from Firesign Theater, but it was something like everything you know is wrong.
Right.
Can you get with that?
Yeah.
And as far as many rabbit holes as I've been down, I always feel like no, I basically got it. I basically know what's what. But no, I think you need to be in that mind frame.
It's really interesting that you bring that up, because I think about, well, who is imagining something totally new? And is that always a good thing? Mm-hmm. And what it makes me think of is genetically modified foods. So somebody imagined, hey, let's put the pesticide right in the food. Let's just really change this. Well, it turns out you can do that.
Yeah.
But it's got a lot of consequences.
Right.
I mean, I have to laugh, because I have a friend who told me many years ago that there was a time where, when all women worked in kitchens and they lined their shelves in the kitchens with paper so that you could put your dishes on top of the shelf that had the paper. Mm-hmm. Well, some chemical company came up with the idea of putting pesticide right into that paper so that if there were any bugs in your kitchen, they'd die. But of course, if you had any food in your kitchen, it was being exposed to pesticides as well. So in a way, it's like, wow, we just got more sophisticated at doing that same bad idea.
Yeah. It's, well, and maybe this is the thing that got me, was maybe to the geneticist, the ability to insert, a fish gene into the corn, that's beautiful. That might be beautiful to them. We found a way to get that gene in there, and it to work to do something good in the world. Or maybe, I mean, this is why it's it's the whole, the whole corporate structure, the whole reality that we've built around control and it's really about control and domination, and controlling or dominating the environment. That that whole agenda. There is a whole league of or leagues of worker bees out there that are getting paid really good salaries for that to be their raison d'être, and that's I don't know. It's a hard one to break down. I think maybe the thing is that the excuse of it being this is what they believe is, you know, it's increasing production, so it's feeding more people. So they have a whole list, like, they can go down the line and say, you know, actually what we're doing is quite good for everybody.
Well, you know, I hear that, and I think that there's usually some thin little story that you can tell. So everybody goes, oh, okay, yeah, I got the story, so here's what we're working on. But I think if you look at people who are in those jobs, or I think the only way you can really do those things is by being very myopic.
Yeah.
I'm working on this, and it's elegant, it's beautiful, it's great the way that we've managed this. But if you pull back and look at the bigger picture, it's
Effed up.
well, it's very bad, and I think I think in a way that's part of the responsibility we have to the people who are, you know, if I just be myopic during the week, I'm going to have great vacations and a lovely house, and, you know, all of those things that come with I'm buying that thin story and keeping my head down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, it really doesn't cut it. It doesn't cut it. But I think, though, as thin as the story is from the outside, we can see the exact thickness of that shell, and it will break down pretty easily. It's, you know, it's real to them. It's thick as molasses for them. That's the world that they've chosen to live in, and what's outside of that literally doesn't exist for them.
You know, it's interesting. I once lived in an apartment where the person who had lived there before me, I still got all of her third-class mail, and she had worked for Philip Morris, and so I used to get PM magazine. And reading through it was fascinating, because you could see that for somebody working at Philip Morris, they were never talking about, you know, are cigarettes bad for you? Does it, you know, is it cancer? No, it was talking about, here's what Philip Morris is doing here, and this is, you know, another lovely thing they're doing. And it was a story about where they worked that made them feel good. And I think, you know, when we talk about language, or we talk about science fiction, or we talk about any of those things, I think it's always useful to remember that we are creatures that love to be told a story. And I think if you want to change things, you gotta have a better story.
Gotta have a better story. Yeah. That's goes back to Bucky, right?
Yeah, and that, you know, that story of genetically modified foods, you know, like, yeah, we're gonna feed the world, and we're gonna. If you're not critically thinking, you're gonna buy those stories that are being sold to you. And if you're not creating alternative stories, a lot of people are going to buy those stories.